What do you really do for a living? Not your job title, not your daily tasks, but what you actually create, improve, or contribute. For some, this is an easy question. But if you're a middle manager at an insurance company overseeing HR, it might be much harder to answer. Over the past century, service jobs have exploded, going from less than 25% to almost 80% of all jobs today. When we hear service jobs, we think of baristas, retail workers, or hotel staff. These may seem like luxuries, but they deliver clear value. A tasty coffee, a new outfit, or luggage delivered without hurting your back. But the service sector goes far beyond that. It includes call center agents, marketers, CEOs, and more. You might think the market would get rid of roles that add no value, cutting costs for efficient companies. But no, and to understand why, we need to look back at the Soviet Union. In the USSR, work was seen as honorable. The state believed labor was a source of pride, and the word Soviet roughly means workers' council. But this created problems. To achieve full employment, managers hired people for tasks that were totally unnecessary. Factory bosses wanted as many workers as possible, both because it boosted their importance and because they feared losing skilled people later. This led to worker hoarding, where people were hired to count nuts and bolts endlessly. Today, the Western world is very different, but some striking similarities remain. Anthropologist David Graeber, in his book Bullshit Jobs, described 5 common types of pointless jobs. First, there are the flunkies, doormen, receptionists, assistants, roles that exist mainly to make others feel important and could easily be replaced by technology if needed. Then there are duct tapers, people hired to fix problems that could be permanently solved, like an inventory manager manually fixing stock numbers that should be updated automatically. Graeber even described a duct taper whose full-time job was cleaning up the mistakes of a so-called star statistician. Graeber explained that sometimes the problem isn't the person in the meaningless job, but the system that creates the need for them. A duct taper can still add value but would be much more effective if the deeper issue was fixed. Next on the list are the box tickers, workers whose job is to make companies look legitimate to outsiders. Think of the people who create internal company newsletters that no one actually reads. Without these roles, the company might look unprofessional or small, which can hurt its reputation. Then come the goons. These jobs can actually harm society, but become necessary just because they exist elsewhere. Corporate lawyers are a good example. They don't directly create anything, but if your company doesn't have them, you may face lawsuits from companies that do. A classic case is patent trolls, firms that buy up patents just to sue other companies, hoping for settlements. Even massive companies like Apple and Samsung have played this game, famously fighting over whether a rectangular phone with rounded corners was a protected design. Beyond lawyers, goons include lobbyists and salespeople who just shift business around without adding real value. But the worst category is the taskmasters. These are managers who oversee people that don't really need supervision. Effective management is important when teams have different skills, but a sales manager controlling a group of people doing the exact same thing often becomes little more than a cheerleader. At best, they push people to work harder. At worst, they become distractions, calling pointless meetings or creating grand mission statements that only pull workers away from meaningful tasks. Many middle managers combine several of these roles, overseeing departments that barely matter, kept in place only to make senior executives feel important. So how did we get here? The Soviet Union created meaningless jobs because it wanted everyone employed and viewed work as noble. But in capitalism, we would expect useless roles to disappear, right? Well, not exactly. We're still stuck in a web of bureaucracy. Just like Soviet managers hoarded workers to boost their status, today's middle managers build teams to look important. And just like Soviet factories were covered in propaganda about workers' achievements, today's LinkedIn is full of posts celebrating vague business accomplishments. Modern companies are obsessed with keeping people busy for 40 hours a week, even if it means making up work. On top of that, regulations make running a business so complex that companies need armies of accountants and lawyers just to survive. These rules may protect society, but they also create entire industries filled with unnecessary jobs. Some large corporations even benefit from this, as it makes life harder for potential competitors. So, is there a solution? As a society, we could start by accepting that working less is okay. Most jobs have some useless tasks, but if we stop pretending everyone needs to be busy all the time, it would be easier to see who's truly adding value. For individuals, options are more limited. You may have to put up with it for now, maybe start a side project that feels more meaningful, or you can just embrace it. Many people proudly carry fancy job titles that help them survive the boring meetings and pointless PowerPoints. And if you really want to experience a world full of complex, made-up jobs, check out the online game EVE Online, where even a virtual universe has built its own bizarre economy packed with meaningless roles. Thanks for watching InvestingFlix. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and drop a comment below. For more expert insights on personal finance, investing, and wealth building, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out.